and welcome to episode number 44 of Creating a Legend. And just look at that screen. Gelios qualify for the Europa League for next season. Fantastic achievement from our boys, which we almost screwed up. We almost got it completely wrong, but we managed to do it in the end. Thankfully, Shakhtar won the Ukrainian Cup and we've qualified. So today's episode is going to be the review of the season, just because of the fact I've got some players that probably haven't been highlighted during the live comms. So I just want to bring everyone up to speed in terms of what these guys are doing and how they're doing and what my thoughts and feelings are for next season with this squad. So what I'm going to do is I am going to seamlessly move myself away. So goodbye. Move myself back again. Hello. And move myself away again. I'm having too much fun doing that. So if we start by just looking through the players we've used this season, just the two goalkeepers used. Eugene Pass was the number one, playing in 32 games, slightly less than he played last season. He had a small injury midway through the season, and Denis Sarudenko played in his place. My big concern with the goalkeepers is I've got two that are ready for first team football, but they are both declining in terms of ability. So my key objective is to try and find a new number one keeper for next season. Eugene Pass should be okay as a makeshift number one / number two for next season. Sarudenko is definitely past it, so I may look to move him on. The other guys on the screen are all young players who've come in through my youth academy. The bottom two, Kulikov and Bondarenko, are probably both going to get released at the end of the season as they're out of contract, and the other two guys are. There's nothing really there. Anton Savchenko has been sort of third choice keepers. There might be something there, potentially a 3-star keeper. So if we move on to left back positions, the first choice left back was Kravchenko, playing 25 times, a decent average rating. If we look at his stats, there is nothing really there to suggest he's anything more than a squad player, but he's been a key player for me since I arrived. 150 games now, that is impressive for someone who doesn't look that good. Physicals are good, he just does a decent job for us. Back up to Kravchenko is Sergei Palantentia, who figured in the first 3 games of the season but hasn't really figured since. He is 2-star, he is cheap, he just about does the job as third choice. The final player, Kravchuk, is out of contract and will be going at the end of the season. A right back is on my shopping list. I've got currently all three out of contract at the end of the next season. Gelchek has been number one, consistent all season. Timchek has come in when required, but he is being sold for £500,000 to Chornrux. A bit risky to sell your best, not your best, to sell your second best right back to a league rival. However, a year left in his contract, £1,200 a week, £500,000 for him. That is a good piece of business, I feel. We have 4 centre backs. We started the season trying to force out Igor Dutz from the squad. 4-star potential, 4-star accountability on £1,900 a week. Now he was on nearly £3,000 a week with a 15% rise every single season, so he was bleeding us dry, and I was trying to get him off the wage bill, but he didn't want to go. Stavok then got a long injury and he forced his way back into the side. In the end, he had a decent season, 22 games, average rating of 7. Stavok is currently 4th choice, even though they are my best 2 centre halves. But Moravsky, who I signed on a free transfer a couple of seasons ago, has had a really good season. Average rating 7.12, 30 games played. He's another one who doesn't look that good in terms of the stats. Sorry, not that good in terms of the attributes. Definitely not stats. Definitely, in terms of the attributes, he definitely doesn't look that strong. However, he just somehow performs. He must have some really good hidden attributes that turn him into a decent player. Solid, consistent, and he's cheap as well, my type of player. I brought in a guy from Shakhtar for the season, Andrei Rudenko. He was only really a squad player, only played 3 times throughout the season. The only player who looks like he might be something is Ruslan Mikhailov, who's been with us 2 or 3 seasons now, but hasn't really been able to force himself into the squad. He's 2-star ability at the moment, potentially 4.5-star, 3.5-star ability. It'd be good if I could read, wouldn't it? He might be something, but I think I've got a horrible feeling I may just work past him, and because I've got a really good looking centre half coming in. I've already got 4 centre halves on the books, and they're all tied down to at least 2 years contracts, so you may just miss out completely. Let's talk about these midfielders then. From the left hand side, Igor Kogot was a very consistent player. Only played 29 games because he got booked a heck of a lot. I don't have the complete stat, but let's have a look. He only got 9. It feels like he got a heck of a lot more yellows. We got 2 reds and 1 red in the cup, so he was always out of the squad. He is by far my best player in terms of attributes. Strong physically, strong mentally, and decent technically as well. Can play in the centre midfield, can play left side of midfield. He is a tremendous player. Got 2 years left in his contract as well. Signed a new deal during the season. This guy is the key to my future. We've also got Miganov in there as well. He is now 28 years old, 1 year left on his contract. I think I might have said it when I was talking about the left backs, but I didn't. I'll say it now. I may have to push him out the club and sell him off if I can maximise some deal for him. He's worth about 2.4 million pounds, so that is a massive chunk of money for me. Then we talk about the loan players. So Dmitry Ivanov came in on a loan after the winter break. Did alright, 11 games, 6.95 average rating. Filled in when required. I may just keep an eye on him for the future. He is a 4-star potential player in the central midfield. We play with 3 at the moment, so I'm going to need options. Starting off with Karel Yassa, my Estonian. A really solid player. Looking at the attributes, he is probably one of the best, if not the best. No, he's not. He's not as good as Kogot, but he is an international. 27 caps for Estonia. A contract for the next 2 seasons, 1.6 million. He may have to be sold on if I get a decent bid. Ambitious player, 20 years old. Been with the club for at least 2 seasons, and maybe even 3. 2 seasons. Been a regular the whole time round. Improved year on year in terms of his average rating, which is all you can expect from a young player. If I get a good offer for him, I may have to consider selling him. Pavlo Oriovsky was on loan from Chernivtsi for the season. 2.5 grand a week, nearly in terms of wages, so he was an expensive player for us. Did alright, 7.21. He was a natural as a centre midfield attack, which fits our formation to a T. He will not be here next season as he's got 2 more years left on his contract, and I just have the money to buy him in all honesty, so he'll be moved on unless they put him up for loan. I may go in for a cheeky bid. Leonardo came in on a loan. Even though he wasn't a natural centre midfielder, he had learnt the position over time, and he may be one I may look at to get in for next season. A really decent physical player. Moving on from the club are 2 former legends of my side. Dmitry Skoblov is going to be released at the end of the season. He was a star for me for most of the time here. Joined me right at the start. He was here when I arrived. Been consistent over the first 3 seasons. Started to deteriorate last season, but still just about done a decent job. Mainly from the bench this season. 9 games from the start, 11 off on the substitute bench. My biggest problem with Skoblov is he was a bit of a whinger when things weren't going his way. Any issues at all he took against me, and it kind of ruined the relationship a little bit. I managed to get him back on side by just basically agreeing with whatever he said to make him go away, but he has tarnished his reputation with me a little bit, so he moves on. £625 a week off my wage, but there's nothing to be sniffed at for what is necessarily a backup player. Big decision to be made over Sobels, who he's 3.5 star potential player. I wish I could understand and read the ability and potential of things. It make things a lot easier. But he is a player who I've had on the books for a number of seasons now. I think this is his 3rd season. It is his 3rd season. He's only played 12 games. He was involved, but he wasn't involved. He's done alright, but I may have to sell him on just to get him off the books, get some money in for the club. As I said, finances are atrocious. I'll cover that before we go at the end of this episode, but finances are horrible. Andrei Skarlash is retiring as well. He has completely deteriorated as he's got older. A really decent player in his heyday, now only 1-star current ability, and he's not going to improve. Just about made 100 appearances for the club over his time. In terms of young prospects, not massive amount to talk about. Stanislav Kluchik is possibly the only one to mention. He's starting out as a defensive midfielder, but we're training him to be a midfield central. 2 potentially 3-star ability player. Got another 2 years left on his contract. He came on a couple of times last season. He might turn into something. You just never know. He's around. He's only 19, 2 years left, so he'll be 21 by the time the end of his contract. We'll know then, but we'll keep him around just because he's dirt cheap, which, as I've said before, dirt cheap and young on my tour of players. From the right hand side, Ruslan Kizil was the best player in that one. Played 24 times, 7.03 average rating. Not a great season, and he's probably one that's on his decline now. 30 years old, £500 a week, a year left on his contract. May have to make a decision on him before the start of next season. The rest of the guys are backup players. Dmitry Ivanov mentioned before. Sergei Fedotov came in on loan and did alright to start with, then dropped out the side as Kizil came back from injury and wasn't able to get back into his side. He is just as good as Kizil and he's got a lot more potential. I may look to get him back on loan for next season. We'll see how it goes. Because we've got Mikhail Chernik, who was an original regen. This was supposed to be his year where he came a part of my squad on a regular basis. And yeah, he played 13 times overall. So it brings up to 32 games for the club and he scored his first goal in the Ukrainian Cup. But I was really excited when he first came in, but he just hasn't developed beyond. Well, he's developed alright, but he's not forcing his way into the team. He's not banging on the door saying, I must be playing, boss, because I'm doing really well in the youth team and the reserves, because he's doing okay. 5'4", so he's not going to. He's small. He's a pocket dynamo. There might be something there. Who knows? His biggest problem is he's a bit too versatile. He's not quite good enough to play on the right hand side of midfield, is what I've got. He's not quite good enough to play in the centre midfield. He can play attacking midfielder, which we don't play. He can play wide on the right, which we don't play. He could potentially play as a backup striker, but we play false nine. So none of his positions, even though he does have some of the good attributes for it, are anywhere near where he needs to be. So he's got a year left on his contract. He's on a fairly good wage for what he is. So we may have to move him on, or we may just keep him around, see what he does next season. Only 20 years old, so he's got time on his side. My big problem is with the strikers. We don't have a massive amount of goals in us. Denis Bezbarenko played 20 times, scored 5 goals. That's 1 in 4, which is not brilliant. 2.5-star current ability player. He's not going to improve. He will do a relatively okay job next season as a false 9. It's his 4th best role. As what he is, he'll do for next season. Probably run his contract down and move him on at the end of the season. 48 games, 13 goals in his career with the club. Vladislav Kulic, I am pretty sure I am going to allow him to leave out of contract in 25 days. 3-star current ability, 3-star potential. If he accepts a really reduced wage, he may stick around for next season. As there's some decent attributes there, and his goals per game record is similar to Bezdarenko, 13 from 47. Got 6 in 25 this season. Most of them towards the end of the season, so he may stick around for next season. But I have signed a player to be my first choice striker for next season already, even though he might not be the answer, but who knows? I don't know anything, as I've previously mentioned. Stefano Yuri came in on loan from Brazil, did alright, 19 years old, couple of goals in 10 games. Slightly disappointing with his actual performances, but he was playing as a false 9, which is not his natural role. He'll go back to Brazil. May look at him again early next season if he's around, because he's only on £250 a week, so that is a relatively cheap amount of money for us. I have Leonard Bolin still, who's got another year on his contract. He needs to start getting himself into the first team squad. Did play 7 times over the course of the season, 2 goals in the cup, 1 cup game he scored a couple of goals. Potential 4.5 stars, so there's a lot of potential there. He needs to start delivering on his potential. He may go out on loan, he may just have to be backup. Who knows? He's got a big 12 months ahead of him before his contract expires. And the final player to mention is Bettino. Came in on loan from Brazil. Didn't really do much, didn't really have a chance to do much. Played 4 times, didn't score average rating 6.35. He might be someone to look at for next season, just to get him in on loan if I can't get a better player in. So we've broken things down by position. We're now just going to talk about some of the stats. So goals, top scorer, I got Koget, 11 goals. When your left-sided midfielder scores the most goals in the season, then you know you do struggle to put the ball in the back of the net at times. Second top scorer is Kudet with 6. We need a goal scorer. That is our big challenge. But they are expensive and we have no money. Average rating wise, decent seasons for Kogot, Iasa, Oryovsky. Decent performance. We had quite a few players, average rating of 7 or higher, which I always say 7 is your benchmark. If you can get better than 7, you've had a decent season. Less than 7, not as good season. So we look at the finances. The club have just put in another £600,000 into the club, so we're overall balance is £1.2 million. We are under our wage budget, which is a real positive, but we have no real income. So this season, sponsorship was £309,000, and not much more came in. You get nothing from winning anything or getting anywhere in the league. Get nothing from being on TV. This is really a little bit screwed up. The only finances we'll get is Europa League. We'll get some money for going out of that. If we can somehow get to the group stage of the Europa League, we may somehow sort the finances out into next season and actually give us something for next season. The expectation for next season is going to be increased dramatically. We were relegation favourites this season and we have had a relatively good end of the season. We finished in 5th overall, which is our best season ever, most points as well for the season. Avoid a relegation battle, but I think the expectation for next season will be, at the very least, repeating what we've done this season. We've talked about it as a squad, and that's what we've sort of said to the squad, is that we want to get mid-table at the very least, and it's like, yeah, we fully agree on that. So we are 5th, should really have been 3rd. We had 2 poor runs of form. We had a good start to the season. Lost the first game to Shakhtar, which is Shakhtar, isn't it? So we've always going to lose those games. Then we had a good run of form, we're winning some games, and then it all fell apart just from October to December, where we won 2 games, drawn 1 and lost the rest. It all fell apart in that one. We regained it a little bit as we ended the regular league season, and in the Premier League, Champions League group we did alright, 4 wins and a draw, but then we ended the season with 3 straight defeats. So if we'd have had a little bit more consistency, then we would have finished comfortably in 3rd place, maybe even pushing Dynamo Kiev for 2nd. So we talked about the squad, we talked about the league season. The final thing to talk about is the goal of the save. So we are trying to become a legend. As you can see on the left hand side, there are no club legends. We are still favoured personnel. We have been there since the end of season number 1. This is the end of season number 5. I don't think we're going to be moving into icons until we've won some silverware with this football club. We are now a 2.5 star reputation in the Ukraine, which is our best ever position. As a club, we are moving in the right direction. Just turned 20 years old. We are still not playing in our home stadium. We're playing in Vorskla, which is about a 2-hour drive for the fans. So we don't have a ground, even though we do have future stadium plans of planning permission and a new 5,000 seater stadium, but that's not going to happen until we have actually some money into the club. Nothing can happen in this football club until we have some money, and it could be a long time before that can happen, even though we are making steady progress every single season. We will have European football. Hopefully we'll be able to get into the top 3 towards the end of the season. There will be a number of young players coming in. My only way of improving the club is to bring young players in that are young. Obviously, bring young players in that are young. That's groundbreaking, novice. That's groundbreaking. We're bringing in young players who are obviously young. They're going to be hungry. They're going to be players that we can hopefully sell on as we go forward. Every season we usually sell one player for about £250,000 to £300,000 to get a bit money in, and we bring in free transfers throughout the campaign. So hopefully we can continue that progress for next season. We can improve. We can move this club forward. It's going to be a tough season. I think next season expectations has increased, so we can't go back to from where we are now. So we have to move forward. We have to find a goal scorer who's going to score more than 7 or 8 goals in the season from our strikers, which is going to be costly, and we have no money, as I've mentioned numerous times. So that will be today's episode. possibly going to be a little bit longer than normal. I hope you have enjoyed it. Please do leave some feedback in the comments below. Did you like what you've seen today? Does it not work for you? Does it do work? Does it not work? Does it do work? Does it do work? Does it not work? Does it work? English is a beautiful language, and it's amazing when you can get it so wrong. So has it worked? You know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say. I probably did. So thank you very much for watching. Please do leave a like if you have liked what you've seen. Please do subscribe if you're new to the channel. So I've been the FM Novice. Join me for the next episode where we'll be starting season number 6. Potentially wearing with a European game depending on how the season unfolds. We'll review quite a number of signings and we will go from there. Have a lovely evening.